Feeling a little unsettled and stressed with the way things are in our world? Experience the peace of Jesus with Finding Peace, our 5-day devotional. Visit purposely.com to sign up. Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hi, welcome to Shaken. I'm Steve Sunshine. If life has you asking God questions like, where are you? Or why did you let this happen to me? You're in the right place. Shaken is full of honest conversations and stories for real hope, not pat answers. We look at suffering pretty unflinchingly, but we also point you to Jesus, the source of hope and comfort in any circumstance.
I was getting through a lot of life and then coping with the highs and the lows with games. So if I, had some major accomplishment or some lesson went really well, I would celebrate with video games. Someone had a birthday, we would play video games. And then the flip side, all my worst days, my highest stress days, my low sleep days, if I had a fight with my wife, I would cope with every one of those events by going back to video games. And I would tell myself, well, this is my outlet, this is my space, this is my me time. But I would never get better. I wouldn't come away from video games with more life and more energy and more focus. I would come away going, that was amazing. When can I get back?
So what do you do when something good isn't good for you? Nathan Sutherland realized his compulsive video gaming had gotten to the point where he didn't just enjoy playing, he needed to play to be okay. So he stopped, and he hasn't gone back. In fact, he's turned it into a ministry that includes the Gospel Tech podcast, which helps guide families to the healthy use of all tech. You can hear Gospel Tech right here on Purposely.
I am still a fan of video games. I just don't get to play them anymore. I was first introduced to video games when I was 8. My dad brought home a Nintendo Entertainment System, and me and my 2 older sisters played Mario and Duck Hunt on the same cartridge, because that's how long ago it was. And it blew my mind. I just knew at that moment that video games were right and good, and that I needed more of them. And this was in an era when people did not call themselves gamers. That was not a moniker you would give to yourself.
Right.
You would not, wear T-shirts like proud gamer. People called you a gamer to let other people know that you were different and that you were probably going to die alone. So it was not a compliment. By being called a nerd was not cool at this stage in life.
So real quickly about Mario though, I can't help this. I got a Nintendo, but my roommate and I finally beat the Mario Brothers game by playing in tandem. We were switching off.
Yeah. You play a life, I play a life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, keeps your fingers from fatiguing. Right. And playing that game straight through probably took you 90 minutes, maybe. It had a very limited amount of time you could play. Either you're going to beat the game or you were going to just rage quit, right? You died at the same part over and over and over and over again. You can't remember your first name, and you walk away, you go throw a rock and go walk through the woods.
It put the pressure on each of us to not let the other one down.
Right. We had a rule where if you died, you had to do a certain number of push-ups. So we're like, man, you died again. You owe me 20 push-ups. So there was certainly motivation there too, to not let your friends down. But that was the gaming experience of the time. There was no behavioral design for engagement or microtransactional upsells. It was just engaging gameplay with little itty bitty pixels. The graphics were not good, but it lit something up inside of me, and I went on assuming, like everyone else around me assumed, that I would grow out of it. I assumed this is just a kid's thing. It's very exciting, but eventually I'll find adulting exciting, and then real life will happen.
Right.
And no one told me that people my age were growing up and were like, well, this isn't cool. Original Nintendo's fine, but wonder if we could make something cooler. So if you took an original Nintendo now and gave it to someone like one of my children, I have an 11, 9, 6-year-old. Any one of them who have now played an original Nintendo, they thought it was awesome. This is cool. They didn't know how to hold the controller. They were holding it vertically, the keypad, facing the wrong direction. You're like, oh yeah, that's not how you do that. What does the A and B mean, Dad? So we eventually realized that was blowing their minds, but as gamers, we were used to it. So we created the Super Nintendo, and then we created the Nintendo 64, and then the Xbox,
On
well,
and on.
PlayStation, I guess, and then the Xbox,
Yeah.
and then Xbox One X, and now we have devices you strap onto your head and they project the game directly into your brain. Because if your head doesn't smoke when you're
Yeah.
using it, it's not intense
It's a
enough.
little bit frightening.
And the idea though is that those systems are intended not for 9 through 12-year-olds, but for average age gamers. Average age gamer in the United States right now is 32. And that's why consoles cost $500 to $800. So to buy an Xbox or to even buy a new Switch, if you buy the Switch 2, it's a $400 gaming console. Like 12-year-olds aren't forking out that kind of
Right.
money for games are now $60 to $80 to purchase. Like those are really big cash outlays because your average gamer is an adult who gamed as a kid and now needs something more intense to find exciting. That we need more engagement, we need better graphics, we need
Yeah.
faster pace, we need more time to beat. I mean, I mentioned Mario was 90 minutes to beat. There are games that are now, I mean, you have limitless games, World of Warcraft, Minecraft. Like the never-ending games are certainly an option, but even just storyline games, it's not out of the question to run into a game that is 40 to 100 hours of main
Wow.
storyline and side quests, and that's again a boxed game, not a limitless. That's a scratch on the
Yeah.
surface of World of Warcraft or a game like that. So I say that because I didn't grow out of it.
Yeah.
It turns out that through high school, games are still cool. I had a lot of positive experiences playing video games with my friends. GoldenEye was a big deal. And there was a sense of awe when you played these games, not necessarily because of the graphics, but because they were doing things we never thought they'd be able to do. We had 4 people playing simultaneously. Again, only the winner stays in. So those other 3 people had to go do push-ups as penalty in the next group. And you would play with a room of 6, 7, 8, 9 people all at the same time, waiting for their turn to play. And you'd make these little tournaments and silliness. And then you'd fatigue out and go do something else because there's only so much GoldenEye one can handle. But I had really positive experiences through college and then into adulthood when it kind of started to turn. I realized I wasn't gaming as much with people. I was talking to people about games. It's still what a lot of my friendships were. All me and my best friends were all into the same games. We still talked about games. We played games together sometimes, but often it steadily grew to we had to be alone in order to be together. So I had to play through my own device, either a console or a PC, in order to be in the same game as my friend. It was no longer the split screen, 9 people in a room hooting and hollering with each other. And I found that I was actually not gaming because I liked it so much, but I was gaming because I needed it. I was actually getting through a lot of life. So at this point in my life, I'm in my 20s. I'm married. I have a master's degree in education. We own a house. I'm a teacher in Puyallup, Washington at this point. And it's going great. Like I love all the things I'm doing, except I actually get frustrated with everything in life if it gets in the way of my games. As long as I get my gaming time, I'm fine.
So,
Doesn't have
so
to be every day.
that's what you mean by you needed it at that point.
Yeah, so I found, and a lot of this is self-reflection. I was not aware of it at this time. I
Right.
knew something was off. I felt some conviction. Generally, if I played, so for example, Friday night, my wife, I believe, is part cat. She loves to sleep. So she'd go to bed at like 9, and I'd be like, well, I'm a night owl. So from 9:30 to 12:30, I'd play video games. It was never just to 12:30 though, because something would go wrong and I would end up playing for till 2 or 3 because I was trying to, accomplish some goal I'd set in my brain. But as long as Friday night gaming happened, I'd be okay. I don't have to play Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, but I do need Friday. And if something were to come up, like someone were to call and invite us to dinner, and my wife were to say yes without consulting me, I wouldn't try to have a bad attitude. I would just have one. Like it wasn't like a decision I made.
Right.
It was a visceral response to someone taking something that I valued a lot. And by a lot, I mean, I needed this to be okay. This was my time away. This was my way to get settled. And what I ended up finding out, again, in retrospect, was I was getting through a lot of life and then coping with the highs and the lows with games. So if I had a great day at school, or I, had some major accomplishment or some lesson went really well, I would celebrate with video games. Someone had a birthday, we would play video games. If it was summer break or Christmas break, like there's definitely a pre-planned gaming session that's going to be happening here. And then the flip side, all my worst days, my highest stress days, my low sleep days, if I had a fight with my wife, like I would cope with every one of those events by going back to video games. And I would tell myself, well, this is my outlet, this is my space, this is my me time, but I would never get better. Like I wouldn't come away from video games with more life and more energy and more focus. I would come away going, that was amazing. When can I get back?
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, well, it's, it's Sunday, or I guess Monday morning, 1 a.m. I got to go to work in 5 hours. So I guess maybe Friday evening, like that'd probably be or my wife's going to be gone, Thursday night, maybe I could fit it in then.
Yeah.
And I would actually make these plans until one morning, actually a Sunday morning, about 2 a.m. I pushed back from my computer and was like, man, like I did it again. I blew right through a timeline. I know I'm going to be tired. I know I'm going to have to, go through life with a smiley face because I don't want my wife asking questions. Oh, I did fail to mention this. I had not told my wife I was staying up late to play video games. In my mind, she'd never asked, so I wasn't lying. But for full context, I know that that's not clear thinking or morally accurate. But in my head, that's what I told myself. It's like, I don't have to bring up that I'm gaming until late in the morning because she's asleep. I'm not hurting anybody. Like it's not morally wrong. There's no sin to confess here. It's just video games. And I had worked myself into the spot where I'm like, well, therefore I have to look awake. Otherwise she'll ask questions and I'll have to lie. So right before I went to bed, I just said a little prayer. I said, dear Lord, please help video games not be a problem for me. In Jesus' name, amen. Went to bed, woke up 4 hours later, went to church, and totally forgot about my prayer. And this particular day, I was groggy and I was feeling a little guilty about my use of time. I was like, I should do better. Like I should really keep to the timelines I've set myself, the same conversation I've been having for the last 15 years of my life. And sat in church, don't remember the first half of the sermon, but I do remember the second half where the pastor said, if you're asking God to help you manage your sin, you're praying the wrong prayer. God doesn't manage sin, he kills it. And that hit hard. The Holy Spirit used that to remind me of the prayer that I prayed about 5 hours beforehand. And I realized, man, I'm not just someone who likes gaming and lacks self-control. I'm someone who needs gaming to be okay. I am dealing with all of my big emotions by gaming to regulate. And if I don't have gaming, I don't know how to process reality. And that was a huge deal. So May 15th, 2011 was the last day I played a video game. Steve Shell was the pastor out at Northwest Foursquare here in Washington State. And that began a journey. I had to write myself a little note on like, this is why you're giving up video games, because I've found in the past I tend to forget. And like, I don't think that was real. Like I must have just eaten a bad burrito. So I wrote myself a little note, like, this is why you're doing this. Remember these things that you've seen for years and years and years. And remember this specific conviction the Holy Spirit gave you. Because 3 weeks later, I was out in my yard. I didn't know what to do with my spare time. I was like, I don't actually have like things I do. Like my time goes to video games. Like that's what I do for fun.
Yeah.
So I was digging a hole, like doing some yard work, only semi-morbidly, right? Just drudgery. And I remember stopping and having this prayer with the Lord, being like, Lord, do you mean the rest of my life is wake up, go to work, come home, do more work, go to bed, rinse, repeat, and then I die? And he very graciously asked me, do you trust me? As I've prayed through that, of like, yeah, of course I trust you. And I just want a little explanation of like, what's happening? Like, why are you taking this from me? And the do you trust me is just that recall of Jesus' conversation with Peter. When Peter has betrayed Jesus, he has decided, he's seen Jesus alive twice at this point. And he's told his buddies, I'm going fishing. Effectively, like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I've seen Jesus. I have no doubt he's raised and alive and that I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I can't face him again. And that conversation of, do you trust me? He didn't ask, do you trust me? He said, do you love me? So that's important because it wasn't, do you love me more than these other disciples? It's, do you love me more than these fish? And that conversation call out to me of, do you love me more than your video games, Nathan? Do you believe that I can be better than the thing you've used since childhood to self-regulate? Do you think I can bring you more joy? And frankly, my answer was no. Like, I don't think you can. Like, in a real moment, I know what video games can give me.
Right.
I know they can give it to me on demand. I know how to get that same feeling that I want, that rush of excitement and of purpose and an adventure. And I don't get that reading my Bible, Lord. And that actually was very convicting when I gave that answer, because I'm like, oh, but like, what if the answer is actually yes? Like, what if God is actually better than a video game? And so I took the challenge more as a challenge at that point than something that I knew to be absolutely true. And year after year, the Lord has proven to be better than video games. I would actually say that video games are still more exciting on their face. Following Jesus is not the absolute thrill ride
Yeah.
of a AAA, $500 million video game. It's not. It takes work. It takes emotional effort. Sometimes you do it and you go, what am I doing? Like, how is this happening? But the value of it, every time you come away from time with the Lord, you're renewed, you're restored, you are strengthened. You understand joy and contentment at a level a video game has never even been able to touch. So that was my journey, the short version, how I came to give them up. Yeah.
Yeah. So the episode that came out just before this one, we talked about turning grief into action. And that's really where, you could have felt sorry for yourself. You could have relapsed. You could have done any number of things, but you've instead turned it into a ministry. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, the Lord was very gracious. So I had this extra time on my hands where He asked, "Do you love me? Do you trust me?" And I was like, "Well, what do I do with this extra time?" He's like, "Well, like, you became a teacher because you care about kids. Go work with kids." So I started asking around, and Young Life is something we have in our area. So I went and asked a local teacher, "Hey, do we have this at our public junior high that I teach at?" And the teacher said, "No, do you want to run it?" I was like, nope, just got some spare time, want to volunteer with kids. I said, "Well, we have an informational meeting. You should come to that." And anyone who's been involved with Young Life knows that their informational meetings can be very informative. And at this particular meeting, I was informed with about 30 families present that I was Nathan Sutherland, the new Young Life leader of my junior high. And I'd never been to a club. I'd never been to camp. I just knew that it was an organization for reaching kids who were the furthest out. The kids that would never walk into a church. How do you reach those kids with relationship? And it began a 7-year journey of serving in Young Life. And I realized my passion for young people extends beyond language arts, which I was teaching, 8th grade language arts, and continues to see them reach their full potential. And so I started a nonprofit, went 3 years part-time teaching, and then Flint and Iron extended to Gospel Tech, which is a ministry to help families raise kids who love God and use tech. And every single year we set a goal, and every single year the Lord uses that goal to show us how wrong we were about where He was taking us. It was never, I'm going to start a nonprofit and talk about tech. In fact, when people asked me the first few years, do you talk about technology or video games or any of these harder topics? I said no, because I did not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And the Lord made it very, very clear that this is where He was leading me, was to talk about technology and about how He has set me free from my need for compulsive gaming and for controlling my emotions on my terms, and instead giving them to Him and trusting Him that He's good enough. And so now I speak, I write, I create content that equips parents to have the hard conversations about tech, to communicate the gospel, the good news that God saves sinners. And as sinners, our children need the same Savior we need.
Yeah.
Our children are not problems to fix. They are people to love. And we will love them the same way Christ loved us, by going into the brokenness, by bringing hope, joy, and truth to the areas of brokenness that have either happened to them or that they've caused in their own life. And then to use the best tech well, then to use tech because I'm saved and a new creation. That's going to change both the tech I use and how I use it. So maybe I still, so for me, I don't game anymore, but maybe you play games, but you now have a different standard. Like, you were bought with the price. Your time is not your own. So this game is no longer something you need. It's something you can play. You can get a lot of joy and life out of it, but there is a litmus. Like, am I doing this because I need it to be okay? Or am I doing this because it brings good fruit? Galatians 5:22, like, I have more love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control because I am on social media, because I play games, because I listen to this music, because I watch this show. Great. But there's also Galatians 5:19 through 21, where there's a whole list of things that will come as bad fruit,
Right.
and we check that too, and we take it serious. As followers of Christ, we cut off things that cause us to sin, not that just adjacent to sin. So I'm not just saying like you sinned near a phone. I'm saying if you're on social media or you play video games and you regularly put your trust in that thing to make you okay, and this is I love Tim Keller's definition of sin is trusting in anything to bring you contentment other than God.
Oh, yeah.
In his book, Counterfeit Gods, talks about how our hearts are idol factories and we put things on the throne of our heart. And we look at this thing and say, I'll be okay if my kids get straight A's, or my family's healthy, or I make enough money, or I have a vacation, or I have video games, or whatever your thing might be. We fill in the blank of I'll be okay if. And Keller goes, all right, well, that's an idol.
Yep.
So Galatians, Paul reminds us that anything we say, I'll be okay if, insert the blank. If we don't say if, I have God.
Right.
If anything else is an idol and is something that becomes sinful. And I think that's my heart behind gospel tech, is help parents talk about healthy tech, communicate the gospel, and then connect the gospel to their daily tech lives.
So really, in your message, it applies to everyone, because potentially anyway, because there are any number of things you could be addicted to. But just on the subject of video games, since that's maybe close to your specialty, what percentage of people do you think have an issue like that versus are just enjoying it in a more healthy way?
Ooh, that's a number I really want to know.
Yeah.
I will say the stats I've seen is somewhere in the 3 to 5% range of gamers are considered compulsive gamers, going into the area of addictive gaming. Addictive gaming is when you begin giving up things you need for stuff you want. So you start giving up sleep or relationships or priorities or commitments.
Right.
You start giving up financial responsibilities in order to get back to your gaming opportunities. 3 to 5% is a huge number because there's 250 million gamers in the US.
Yeah.
So we are talking about a massive number of gamers who are potentially at best compulsive. So they're doing it as a negative habit. And it kind of, in my situation, I wouldn't necessarily say I was addicted. And the reason I would say that is I think it was compulsive at this point. And I want to use that addictive phrase carefully, because there are people that are self-destructive. We see it in gambling. We see it in internet searches.
Yeah.
We see the part where you start to give up what you need to get to what you want. And I would say I was showing habits of that, but I don't think everyone can do what I did by just walking away and you'll be fine. I do think some people need professional counseling, professional care, because the hurt and the habits go so deep that it does cross into addiction. And once you're into addiction, you're into mental habits that you need outside support to break free from, both within the church and within the professional community. So that's why I would use those words carefully. But I distracted myself from your question.
Well, I was just thinking about, to distract you further here.
Yeah, please.
We are, in this day and age, we are really good at one thing, and that's overreacting. You see pendulums swing wildly back and forth on all kinds of different issues, and yet you have decided not to take the obvious stance, and I'm not saying it's the right one. It's too easy to say, I had trouble with video games. Video games are bad. We've got to warn the parents to get the video games out of the house. But you've seen nuance and maybe what's more like what's really going on, in that it can be a good thing when used properly.
Yeah, and I really want to convey that to families. I find we do get tunnel vision when things are concerning, especially when they have the potential to hurt our kids. I believe that many video games are amazing. I believe that there are some video games that are inherently harmful in the way that they're designed. I would say a specific example of that is Roblox. Roblox has a really cool idea of creative play, but they put it in this portal format where it's this not even designed content by the game designers. It's just a platform for other people to put content on there. And it's moderated effectively by AI. Effectively is actually probably too strong of a word. It's not moderated effectively. And there's no way to guarantee your child will not be approached by an unsafe stranger or exposed to content that is unhealthy for young adults.
Wow.
It's been documented very well. It's been documented recently. And the companies basically said, yeah, but we're making money. And that's our number one goal. So as a platform, Roblox is currently not safe for children. That's important to know because that's not every game. You can play games that are, anyway, I can get distracted by the video game conversation. There are games that are helpful. For example, my children have played Mario Kart. They go to a friend's house, they play Mario Kart, they enjoy it as part of their friendship, and then they run off and play something else, and it's great. Time limits can help. Content limits help. Having conversations with your kids, if you were just asked 3 questions of a game, ask them, is this character someone we would have over for dinner? So like when we think about this game, is this helping you become more of who we want you to be? Some people would have Master Chief from Halo over or Mario over or maybe Doom guy from Doom. I don't know. But like you just want to have that conversation. It also helps your child to think through like, all right, this is something I'm engaging. It affects my heart. Let's think it out. Violence, is it part of it or the point of it? So Mario, you jump on a Goomba, they go flat. They probably died. They might have had a family, but like that's not really what we're thinking through. Compare that to like Mortal Kombat where the point of the game is the violence and the fatalities and we're celebrating like I worked hard to beat you so that I could rip your spine out. And that there is something where like I would have a hard time seeing Jesus playing that game. Like I get that it's not real, but my heart was just elated at doing something horrifically graphic to you. And that probably isn't something I want to feed with repetition. And then third and finally would be the microtransaction aspect. Is this game have hooks in it behaviorally that are unfair for young people? And so something like Fortnite would fit this mold. When you are financially invested into a game, even if it's just a few dollars, you're more likely to repeat that behavior or feel like you need to repeat that behavior. And that can be really hard for young people to understand. We go, yeah, but I get it. You spent $20 on the game and we're walking away. Like it's not the activity we're doing the whole time. So I do believe games can be an awesome outlet, that there's a lot of positive to be had there, but it needs to be set in a bigger conversation about who are we designed to be in Christ as new creations? What are we called to do? We're called to love God with all we are, love others as ourselves, and to make disciples, to help other people do those first 2 things. And if video games help us do that, awesome. If they distract us from those, then video games either need to get altered, like the amount of time or the type of content or the time of day, or they need to get dropped because we're told that if something causes us to sin, if something causes us to look for hope in something other than God, then we cut it off and gouge it out, including up to our right hand and our right eye. So I will live the rest of my life probably never playing video games because I don't have like a dial. I can't just like turn it down to a 2 out of 10. Like I have a switch and I had to turn it off and apparently snap it off. And just be like, yeah, I'll live the rest of my life without gaming because God is better. And by the way, I still have a lot of fun. I have hobbies. Like I do enjoy life, but I don't get that, 20 out of 10 elation from many things that video games was able to give me. And I actually see that as a positive because getting that quick and easy of an instant high makes it hard to moderate because real life is difficult and sometimes you just have to be in the difficult for a while.
Nathan, Gospel Tech is on Purposely. It's on the same network that Shaken is on. Super easy to find. Tell us what else you're up to that people should know about.
Oh my goodness. So Purposely, on the Purposely podcast, network, the Gospel Tech podcast. They should also know that I run workshops for churches, for organizations. I'm going to be speaking at a major tech company here soon. So if you have an ERG in your organization, I would love to speak there. So Flint and Iron is the side that allows me to speak in public formats. So we don't cite our Bible verses, but we do bring truth and hope into dark places. And the workshops for churches, for schools, and for Christian organizations allows me to train both the teachers, the parents, and the youth about how we can use the best tech well.
And Flint and Iron is the place to go to find any of that, any of your public speaking stuff.
Yeah, flintandiron.org is the public schools, public organizations, and gospeltech.net is the website for Gospel Tech.
Okay, excellent. We'll have both of those in the show notes. Nathan, thank you for joining us. And your story is surprising and maybe unusual, people think, but maybe not as unusual as they suspect it is. And I appreciate you sharing it and being vulnerable and turning it into something good.
Thank you, Steve, for the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Shaken. If you know someone who's asking questions like, why did God allow this to happen? Is God angry at me? What do I make of my suffering? Would you please share Shaken with them? You can help more people find Shaken by liking and subscribing and reviewing this podcast. You can find more episodes at purposely.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We just wanted to take a minute to let you know that just like you and your family, Purposely is also part of a family, the Krista family of ministries. Krista helps kids and teens learn and grow in their faith at King Schools and Miracle Ranch Camp. And Krista shares Jesus with people in the poorest, most remote places through World Concern. Krista Senior Living is a community of love and care, and Krista Media is a place of hope on the radio. God is changing lives through these 5 ministries, and Krista is on mission to share the good news of Jesus. To learn more, visit krista.org.